Annabelle, as you know, I am no stranger to the act of blasting through a horror franchise. I have watched and always endured. Even when that leprechaun fella went to space. But this may be the truest test of my resolve yet. P.S. Look, I ain't kidding about those meds for the cat. It's a kidney thing, you don't mess with the kidneys. Hello and welcome to RotD Review of the Day, and today I am reviewing the 6th movie in the Puppet Master series, Curse of the Puppet Master. That's right, the numerical order is now out the window. So this one was made in 1998, a full 4 years after the previous one, and it ditches the storyline of where that left off. 4 and 5, 4 started with its own storyline, 5 continued with that, and 6 has developed into something entirely on its own. Still has to do with the puppets and the same puppet characters, but the humans around them and the storyline and circumstances are totally different at this point. So, brass tacks, where do I think this lands in the quality department? I would say that it is better than the last one, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it is still not great. I'd say it's probably my second least favorite in the franchise so far. And there's a few reasons for that, and to get into those reasons, let's get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the plot, as far as this one goes, has to do with a small town puppeteer that needs to hire on some extra help, so he finds this slow-witted, I suppose, mechanic that happens to be good with wood carving that he finds out through the happenstance of Whitland. And he takes him on and introduces him to the puppets that are part of his puppet theater, which are the puppets that we know and love, Blade, Six Shooter, all that. And he enlists the help of this mechanic, to be a puppet wood carver, and to follow a template that he has found that would enable him to, do something. It's assumed that he's trying to create another of these puppets that he happened to find. Overall, I thought that was a fairly interesting premise. It just wasn't executed very well. The dialogue was pretty bad, and the writing as it goes, it had a lot of pacing issues, and it didn't really know exactly when to stop one scene or to draw a scene out that it needed to. Overall, as far as the plot goes, I gave it a 7 out of 25. The intent... I think that genuinely the intent of this one was supposed to be that it was trying for a, starting over, not a reboot, but just kind of starting fresh, putting the old, aside and, bringing in the new of a storyline and still having the same fun, energetic, and pleasing to the fans of the franchise kind of movie. And I thought that in all of that, it failed pretty spectacularly. It wasn't fun. Just like it's pretty much like the last one in this regard. It wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. It was boring. It moved better than 5, but only in timing. Aesthetically, actually, I thought it was even worse. But I'll get into that with the technical. There wasn't nearly enough in the realm of puppets or kills, and to be perfectly honest, after having watched it, I was vague about what the puppet master was hiring the guy to do, and the reason for that is because I'm still not sure. It really didn't exactly explain. I mean, it explained on a technical level what this person was accomplishing by filling out this template and carving these pieces and putting them together. But it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of motivational theory. I just don't get why he was wanting that in the first place. It just... So yeah, the intent I gave a 5 out of 25. I could not go any higher than that. The acting, I get even lower on this. I gave it a 4 out of 25. It was just phenomenally terrible, and not even in a fun way. Sometimes you get the acting so bad it's good, and this one is just it was just bad. There was nothing. I mean, when you get that kind of so bad it's good acting level, then it can be fun, and it can be, you can throw popcorn at the screen and you can have fun with your friends and just kind of put words in their mouth and basically do what Tom Servo over there does. But this just wasn't like that. It just wasn't endearing enough and schlocky enough. It was just poor acting mixed with the bad dialogue. It certainly didn't help any. So acting, I gave a 4 out of 25. And the technical, I am sorry, but I gave a 2 out of 25. And the reason for that is the puppeteering is one of the biggest saving graces of even the bad movies within this franchise. And in this one, it was really fairly minimal. They had no stop motion whatsoever in this. And most of the puppets that were on the screen, most of the footage, as far as I understand it from what I've been reading on IMDb, was from previous movies. So that seems like it's lazy. It's just honestly lazy. I know they only have so much of a budget to work with. As I think it was $400,000, which was like half of what the previous one was. But at the same time, that's not an excuse for putting out a bad movie. If you're going to have a movie with puppets that are part of a franchise that stop motion and quality technical skill and adeptness has been an integral part of the series, you need to continue on with that. Otherwise, just don't bother making it. If you can't afford it, to bring it to that level, don't bother. It's just not worth it. And the camera work was really peculiar. It had very harsh angles, very top down, very bottom up, very, very harsh angles mixed with harsh, weird lighting. It made me think of a poor man's attempt at Dario Argento-esque exuberance with the camera work and color work, and it ultimately just kind of failed. The effect was pretty dismal. So 2 out of 25. That's my biggest complaint about this movie. I still enjoyed it more than the previous one, even though I think this definitely has a lower score of 18 out of 100 points. The previous one had 23, which is interesting because I did enjoy this one just a little bit more. Only insofar as the storyline progressed at a slightly better pace, and it proved to be not as boring as 5. And that's why when I mentioned that in 5, my review of 5, that the biggest sin you can make in a movie is to make it boring. You can have bad. In this one, 6, Curse of the Puppet Master, it was bad. But it wasn't quite as boring. So even though on a technical level, breaking it down and putting it into a scoring system of categories and tiling it up, it winds up being less, I actually enjoyed it more. That's not to say that I really enjoyed it. It was just more tolerable. So that's about all I really have to say. So there won't be a deep dive accompanying this one. There's really no parts of this that I really need to cover. The most interesting things there were the puppets, and those were from previous movies, so why bother? So I think that should about do it for this one. I think the next movie coming up is Retro Puppet Master, which I will be covering tomorrow. I hope to see you there. Otherwise, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.